Hey guys, tonight we slip into the polished leather of an attorney's chair, your hands clenched softly in your lap, your breath fogging the inside of your mask of composure. You're seated between your brother, who hasn't called in 6 months, and your parents, who've suddenly started dressing like they're auditioning for a retirement home brochure. The lawyer's voice is calm, almost bored, as he reads the will. The words come at you like cool water, refreshing at first until they begin to drown you. Everything to your brother. The house, the lake cabin, the vintage coin collection that Grandpa swore was yours. Even your mother's antique jewelry, the one she said she wanted you to wear on your wedding day. And you. Not even the courtesy of a token gift. No, "we love you" letter. Just your name mentioned briefly, as if you were an old tenant in a house they'd already sold. You glance at your brother. He's smirking. Actually smirking. Like he's just won some invisible game only he knew he was playing. Your mother dabs her eye with a handkerchief. Not because she's sad, because she's so proud of how generous they've been with their favorite child. This is the moment where most people would lose it. Slam a chair, scream, storm out, but not you. You simply nod. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know where you're watching from, and what time you finally decided sleep was optional. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand, shake the lawyer's hand, and walk out. Calm, collected, and already planning your next move. You drive home with the windows rolled down, letting the cold bite at your knuckles. It's the kind of chill that wakes something ancient in your bones, like a Roman legionary marching through the Alps, or maybe just a woman finally snapping out of her own lifelong delusion. The streets blur past in silence, broken only by the rhythmic click of your turn signal at red lights you don't remember approaching. Inside, your apartment hums with quiet defiance. It's small, barely decorated, because you were always saving up for something bigger. A house, maybe, a future. The idea that your parents were padding your inheritance like a trust fund time capsule kept you patient through the birthdays they forgot, the holidays they skipped, the way they always talked about your brother like he'd just descended from Olympus with Wi-Fi and good bone structure. You sit down at your laptop and pull up your banking app. A few taps later, you've paused the monthly payments, the quiet auto transfers that covered half their mortgage, paid for the groceries, and mysteriously funded a few spa retreats you never got invited to. One click, and it's done. It's a silent act, almost holy, like those monks who used to burn entire libraries just to protect a single line of scripture. Historians still argue whether the Great Library of Alexandria was lost to fire or politics. Either way, something precious always dies in the quiet. And here's the twist. Your parents won't even notice. Not right away. They've coasted so long on your generosity that the absence of it will sneak in like smoke under a door. And your brother? He won't feel it at all. Not until the foundation cracks. But you're not here to make noise. Not yet. This is just the silence before the thunder. You go to work the next morning like nothing happened. You nod to the receptionist, grab your usual weak coffee from the break room, and fire up your desktop with the kind of smile that could win awards for most emotionally neutral. The world keeps turning, emails keep arriving, and no one, not a soul, knows that you just fired the first shot in a cold war your parents don't even know they're in. It's strange how revenge doesn't look like fire or screaming. It looks like budgeting spreadsheets and a canceled standing order for $1,450 a month. You're still answering client calls, still hitting deadlines, still reminding your boss that you're happy to cover the quarterlies if Mia's out again. No one suspects that last night you became the French resistance in a war declared over Thanksgiving dinner. Historians still debate whether Charles de Gaulle truly led the resistance from exile or merely symbolized it. Either way, you're now your own exiled general. You make a small list at lunch. Mom's phone plan. You pay that. Gone. Brother's Netflix account, which leeches off your email, blocked. That time you co-signed the Toyota Camry he totaled in 2019? The insurance still comes from your bank. Not anymore. One by one, you cut cords like you're dismantling a failed moon landing. The thing is, nobody calls. Not your mother, not your father, and definitely not your brother. The silence doesn't surprise you. It confirms everything. See, this wasn't about money. It never was. This was about the invisible labor, the behind-the-scenes generosity, the belief that family means reciprocal effort. Turns out for them, family meant, what can we take from her without saying thank you? You tuck the spreadsheet away by 4 p.m. The petty part of you wants to title it Operation Wake Up Call, but instead you just name it Freedom. You don't reply when your mom texts you a meme 3 days later. Something outdated with a minion and an unfunny caption about coffee addiction. You used to laugh, maybe even toss a heart emoji back. Not anymore. You wonder if she notices. If your silence lands with a dull thud of disconnection. But the truth is, if she did notice, she'd probably think you're being dramatic. That's the family playbook, right? Act like everything's normal until the person bleeding finally snaps and becomes the villain. There's a certain satisfaction in letting the silence stretch. You cancel one last autopay, her mortgage top-up. That one stings. You know it does. Because now the budget won't balance, and she'll have to shuffle things around. Not your fault, of course. She just shouldn't have counted on what she never acknowledged. Funny thing, historians still argue whether Cleopatra's strategic romances were political genius or desperate survival tactics. Either way, she understood the power of quiet influence. You're starting to get it too. So when the desperate text finally comes, it's not your mom asking how you are. It's not even can we talk. No, it's a message wrapped in panic. Mortgage short this month. Can you send anything? And all at once, the mask slips. You stare at the screen, and for a second, your heart does a tiny twist. Because it's still your mother. But that feeling fades quickly. You type out a reply, erase it. Type again, erase again. Finally, you settle on a simple, almost clinical, "I'm not in a position to help right now. Sorry." You press send and sit very still, as if your entire body is holding its breath. No reply, just the usual blue check marks, quietly indicting. 3 days pass, still no response. You half expect your brother to chime in, to send one of his trademark passive-aggressive messages like, "Guess we all do what we can, huh?" But he doesn't. Which is even worse, somehow. The silence from him has this smug, weighty quality to it, like he knows he's already won. You scroll back through old texts, back when you and your brother still joked about childhood stuff, shared memes. That time he got gum stuck in your hair and cried harder than you did when mom cut it off with kitchen scissors. Funny, the brain forgets birthday parties, but remembers scissors. You remind yourself, this is the man who let you sit through a will reading like a stranger, who watched your face drop when the attorney said everything to the son and never flinched. If family loyalty were a muscle, his would have atrophied years ago. Historians still argue whether Julius Caesar's betrayal by Brutus was truly unforeseeable or if Caesar just didn't want to see it. People like to believe betrayal comes with drum rolls and storm clouds, but it's usually quiet. Like this, a paper slid across a table, a shrug, a signature, a smirk. You go for a walk. It's dusk. The air is doing that thing where it smells a little like wood smoke in someone else's dinner. You think about texting your mom again. Something neutral, weather-related. But instead, you picture her looking at her phone, seeing your last message and tossing it aside like junk mail. You don't feel guilty exactly. But the word exhausted has a new, bone-deep meaning. The next morning, she sends a follow-up. Are you really going to let us lose the house? The word us does something ugly in your chest. You stare at the message. Are you really going to let us lose the house? Let us. The same us who didn't even think to loop you in before finalizing a will that treated you like a distant relative from a forgotten marriage? You scroll back, reread it. That one word, us, is doing a lot of heavy lifting. You don't reply. Not yet. Instead, you dig out your old notebook, the one you've always used to sort through impossible feelings. It's battered and filled with half-finished to-do lists, doodles, and one truly cursed grocery list from your kale smoothie phase. You flip to a blank page and write a single word. Mortgage. Back when the Mayan civilization thrived, around 250 to 900 AD, they built massive stone temples without metal tools, or even the wheel. Historians still argue how they managed such precision with so little technology. You're feeling a little Mayan right now. No tools, no support. Just the raw determination to carve something impossible out of nothing. You do some mental math. You remember the joint account your name used to be on, the one your mother asked you to remove yourself from, just for tax reasons. You remember the direct deposit you set up to help with the bills when Dad got sick. You never undid that. Until last week. You think about her face when the mortgage payment bounces, the long pause as she refreshes her bank app. The dawning horror. Is it petty? Probably. But it's also the only move you've got in a game you didn't start. Like that old tale of Empress Wu Zetian, China's first and only female emperor. She rose to power through cunning and silence. Historians still debate whether she was a villain or just a woman doing what was necessary in a man's world. Right now, you're not trying to be anyone's hero. You're just trying to survive the silence. The next morning, your phone buzzes again. This time, it's your brother. 3 short words. Can we talk? You sip your coffee slowly, letting the bitterness coat your tongue like armor. Funny. He never wanted to talk before. Not when your parents were planning their estate. Not when they sent you that cheerful family group text about how all the papers are signed. Like it was some happy milestone and not a guillotine. You let the message sit for hours. Then you type back, "Sure, call at 8. You almost laugh at how punctual he is. The phone rings at 7:59. You don't say hello, just wait. His voice is a little breathy, a little sheepish. Hey, so Mom's kind of freaking out. You raise an eyebrow, even though he can't see it. Kind of? He exhales, dragging the silence out. Look, I didn't know they cut you out. I thought you were getting something. You know how Dad is with money, he just does things. Right. Like how Henry VIII just did things, like dissolving monasteries and forming a whole new church to get a divorce. Historians still argue whether that was a masterstroke of independence or just royal tantrum dressed as policy. Your brother rambles on, asking if you'll consider helping just until things settle. You hear the clink of glass. Maybe he's pouring a drink. You picture him standing in his new condo, the one paid for in full by your parents 3 months ago. You reply in the same tone Cleopatra might have used when she offered to roll herself in a carpet to meet Caesar. Calm, calculated, and just a bit theatrical. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Click. You set the phone down, heart steady. This isn't war. Not yet. But the first volley has been returned. And suddenly, the silence is louder than ever. Your mother waits exactly 4 days before texting again. This time it's longer. Panicked. Less like a mother, and more like a woman watching the floor fall out from under her. She writes, "Sweetheart, please. I didn't know what your father was planning. We thought we had time to explain. The mortgage is past due. Your brother says you froze everything. We could lose the house. The house. The same one you helped paint, clean, repair. While they were busy planning who deserved it. There's something absurd in that word. Deserved. As if inheritance is earned through hugs and holiday appearances. As if loyalty was a performance, and you didn't show up in the right costume. You reread her message as you walk down the grocery aisle, your cart creaking softly beneath fluorescent lights. Something about choosing apples while contemplating financial ruin makes you grin. You don't reply. You let her sit with it. Instead, you pull up the bank interface again. Confirm everything remains on hold. Your father always fancied himself the family patriarch, ruling by ledger and law. But history shows us even the firmest dynasties fall when they underestimate the quiet ones. Like the Medici losing Florence to a republic. Like Marie Antoinette, sipping hot chocolate while the people boiled over. Historians still argue whether she really said, "Let them eat cake." But that didn't stop the guillotine. You aren't hungry for vengeance. You're not storming a Bastille. You're simply letting the system do what it does. Letting the accounts they once leveraged as leverage now sit locked and lifeless. At night, you sleep better. Your dreams are still and shadowed, like a Monet painting in soft rain. You wonder how long it will take before they knock on your door, not with entitlement, but with honesty. And whether When they do, you'll be willing to answer. Your brother finally calls. Not a text, not a voice memo. A full, old-school phone call, because desperation is analog when it counts. You stare at the caller ID. The name flashes. Jeremy. You let it ring twice, 3 times, and then, casually, you swipe to answer. His voice crackles through. No hello. Just, what the hell are you doing? You don't flinch. Instead you say, what I should have done the moment Dad signed that paper. Silence. Then sputtering. It wasn't my idea. I didn't even know until the attorney read it out. Don't blame me for what they... Jeremy, you cut in, calm as ever. You knew. Maybe not the details, but you knew you were their favorite. You leaned into it, took it like it was owed. And here's where history repeats. The Ottoman Empire was once ruled by sultans who practiced fratricide, killing their brothers to secure the throne. Sounds brutal, but scholars still debate whether it was more humane than civil war. You didn't wield a sword, just a keyboard and an airtight paper trail. Jeremy pleads. Tells you the mortgage is sinking, mom's crying every night, and he's tapped out. He even has the audacity to say, we're still family. You almost laugh. Family. Like it's a bond, not a transaction. There's a long pause before you reply. Here's what's going to happen, you say. You tell Mom she has 30 days to transfer the house to my name, or I release the full audit I've been compiling. Your expense reports, their offshore diversions, every dollar. Another pause. Then the quiet click of a line gone dead. You place the phone down gently. Outside, a storm is rolling in, clouds thick like spilled ink. The kind of night that tastes like endings. But endings, as every historian knows, are only preludes in disguise. The 30 days stretch like taffy under summer heat. Slow, sticky, and oddly sweet, you go back to your daily rhythm. Mornings with black coffee, evenings with jazz echoing softly in the background. The inbox stays quiet. The phone, still. Not a whisper from your mother or your brother, but you're not waiting. You're documenting. That old attic box of receipts becomes your scripture. You find a travel invoice in your mother's name. Bali, first class. Dated just 2 weeks after your father's surgery. You almost admire the boldness. Historians still argue whether Cleopatra truly seduced Julius Caesar for love or strategy. But either way, she understood leverage. You do too. By week 3, your lawyer emails with a draft of the house transfer deed. They must have gotten nervous, she says. You smile. Not smug, just resolved. And just like that, the home you were denied becomes yours. Not by inheritance, but by consequence. The locks change. The bank breathes easier. And your name slides into every line they tried to erase. There's irony here, wrapped in velvet. Once upon a time, people used to bury treasures beneath hearthstones, thinking no one would ever check underfoot. But you built a map. And now that the gold is in your hands, you're not tossing it in their faces. You're investing it. In yourself. In a quiet life. In nights without gnawing injustice or secondhand shame, the day the title arrives, you don't even celebrate. You just sit on the porch, watching the horizon. No need for fireworks. The silence is loud enough. They haven't called since, not even to say thank you. Which, honestly, is perfect. Because peace isn't something they ever gave you, but it's something you took. And it's yours now, for good. The storm outside is gentle now, just a soft patter of rain against the glass. You sink deeper into your blanket, the air thick with quiet satisfaction and calm resolve. No more shouting, no more begging for scraps at someone else's table. Just you, and the knowing that everything they thought was their legacy was actually your beginning. Let that sit with you for a moment. Like the slow winding down of an old clock tower, ticking softer, slower, until the sound is almost a whisper. Each beat a reminder that you're not who they made you, but who you chose to become. And maybe that's the real inheritance. Not property, not numbers in a will, but your dignity returned, quietly, completely. So now take a deep breath. Let the story melt into the dark. There's nothing left to fix. No more papers to sign. Just sleep waiting like a velvet curtain, heavy and kind. Drift there. You've earned it.